My name is Brent Ridgard. I'm the Director of Environment at AESG, and today we're going to be talking about renewable energy in the Middle East. To understand the story of renewable energy and where it's come from in the United Arab Emirates, one needs to wind the clock back probably 2 decades. In the early 2000s, Dubai, or at least the United Arab Emirates, had within the top 5 carbon emissions per capita, which means that they had one of the highest carbon footprints of most or any nations across the world, and there were reasons for that. Largely because the power industry, so electricity, and also the generation of drinking water, the energy source for that is either oil or gas, so a hydrocarbon, a non-renewable energy source. And that means that the amount of energy that it requires to desalinate seawater, which is where the bulk of the drinking water comes from in the Middle East, including the United Arab Emirates, came from, as I said, gas or oil. Allied to that, it's also a very car-based society. There have, over the last 2 decades, been initiatives to improve public transportation, which has made quite a big difference. But even if you're talking about an electrical rail system or train system, that electricity still comes from a source, and those are the power stations in the Middle East. So it's the combination of the requirement to desalinate all the drinking water and also using hydrocarbons as the energy source to generate power, which led to the UAE having, as I said, one in the top 5 carbon emissions per capita. So that's the backstory as to sort of where the initiatives have come from to improve not just the carbon efficiency of the power grid and the power system, but also to look at the demand side management as well, because there are 2 prongs of attack, so to speak. Over the past 2 decades, the UAE have made tremendous strides towards improving, or at least adding, renewable energy initiatives to the power mix. So in the coming decade, the Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum solar park is scheduled to produce around 4,600 megawatts of renewable power. To give that some context, the largest coal-fired power stations in places like South Africa, Medupi, which was developed again in the last 20 years, that produces about 4,800 megawatts. So one solar complex in Dubai is going to produce the equivalent power of South Africa's largest coal-fired power station. So that puts it into quite an interesting context. The other driving force behind accelerating the renewable energy projects and initiatives in the United Arab Emirates is decarbonisation and the commitments that countries have made through the COP initiatives to decarbonise their economies and to also reach net zero by 2050, in some cases 2060 in others. Overall, the United Arab Emirates have made a commitment to source 50% of their power needs from renewable energy by 2050. Dubai has been even more aggressive in its targets, in that they are aiming to do 75% of their power needs from renewable energy by 2050. So going from zero through to that type of power production from renewable sources, and in this case solar power, is not only ambitious, but it is world leading in terms of being able to diversify away, let's say, from the hydrocarbon based fuel sources that they are currently using. So it's not just to ensure that they are fulfilling their climate change and their decarbonisation and their net zero targets. This is also a very smart strategy to be able to get a more balanced mix of power from different sources. So for example, in Abu Dhabi, that 50% of power that's going to be sourced from renewable energy by 2050, 44% of that is going to be from renewable energy and 6% is going to be from nuclear. And because there is, we all know that oil and gas is it's a finite resource, it's a non-renewable resource. The governments have made the decision to not just decarbonize their economies, but also ensure that they have alternative energy sources from renewable sources to offset what is ultimately going to be a reduction in the amount of gas and oil that's going to be available to them to generate the power that they need, not just to drive their economies, but also to desalinate seawater on an ongoing basis, because there are very few, if any, natural surface and groundwater resources left in the Middle East, because again, that's also a finite resource. So they've moved very rapidly to try and ensure that they are getting more of their requirements from renewable sources. So it is a multi-pronged strategy. It's not just about ensuring a better energy mix from non-renewable and renewable sources. It's also initiatives to ensure that they are meeting their long-term commitments around climate change and net zero targets.